Good morning. Hi, Marie Eisenberg has a stopwatch on me, and I'm supposed to be done in 15 minutes. Robbie Watson cautioned me and said I can't even say good morning in 15 minutes. So, if you will, and I appear to be hurried, it's because Marie has her hand on one shoulder and Bob has the control on the slide projector, and so here we go. It's my responsibility and pleasure to give you a little of the history of our company. This is my father about the time he started in business. He doesn't exactly look like the man that he was. He was buying produce and hauling it to Philadelphia at that time, and that began our trucking business. This was my father and his first truck. If you notice, the telephone number is 331. We've managed to hang on to the last two digits, but at that time there were only three, and now our number is 4531. It's a closer picture of my dad. And this is a truck that they were using early on when we were hauling general freight between Philadelphia and Baltimore. That is a beautiful old truck. If you notice the number of spare tires on it, that was quite a job to change the tires. But
yeah, that would have been what, like 19?
This was 1925. This is a rig in Baltimore, and the driver of this truck is Robbie Watson's grandfather. And if you'd notice that the trailer is what they called a dog at that time. And that was a real trick to back one of those up with a straight truck in front. Then to back that trailer took some skill. This is 1939 when we first started again as a contract carrier. I skipped the fact that my father in 1925 was hauling produce and eggs to Philadelphia, and he got the idea that Railway Express was delivering fresh bread. I say the fresh bread, they shipped it by rail from Philadelphia to the different communities and delivered it by Railway Express. And Dad was looking for a backhaul and persuaded Acme Markets and then later A&P to give him the backhaul on the bread. And this began a relationship. We have been with Acme Markets up until a few years ago, and we've had a continuous relationship with A&P since 1925. If my arithmetic's correct, that's 70 years ago. And we've worked for A&P in one role or another since then. This is the fleet in 1939. These were 28-foot trailers. You see them. We hauled all the groceries, bread, and produce for Acme Markets and A&P from Bel Air, Maryland, north to Newark, Delaware, and south to Cape Charles, Virginia. And these trucks did it all. But that's how the business has grown. This was in February of 1939. This is our first frozen food truck. That's it, if you will. We used to deliver Wilmington, and we were obviously distributors for Seabrook Farms, which was the line of vegetables that Acme Markets carried at that time.
That building, Dad.
That building is our first freezer. That was 60 by 60 by 10. That's how many cubic feet, Bob?
30,000.
Compared to?
We're about 600 times the size of that.
Yeah. I don't know whether you could hear Bob or not.
This building is Fifth McCully. If you don't recognize it, that is the little freezer out back in Fifth McCully.
That we last used it for perishables for Pace when we had the Pace business. That was this building was erected in 1949. the contrast between our first frozen food truck and this fleet over at Harrington with Howard is quite a change. That's a better picture of the freezer at Milford. As I say, it's been added to, but that was 60 by 60 by 10. And we did Acme Markets frozen food out of there, as well as the frozen food for the food service business that we were operating out of that location, selling to restaurants and institutions. And this was our highly mechanized technical order pick system. And Larry, I want you to take note of this. This is a better view of the technology that we were using at that time. But this is how we pick frozen food. What they're handling there is Cross and Blackwell frozen orange juice. Cross and Blackwell was in the market at that time and quite popular.
There was no more trucks or pallets or anything like that?
No, the man that sold us this freezer had been in the business of building plywood PT boats during World War II, and after the war was over, he decided to build insulated panels. And he talked us into a wooden floor. He said, "You'll never use fork trucks and frozen food. It'll all be small carts or a roller skate wheel conveyor. That's how frozen food will be handled." That's hard to imagine that we bought into that, but we did. That's it. The contrast, this is Harrington, and our freezer that was built in 1973. It's been added to since that picture was taken, but that's matter of fact, this is 3 times the size of our original freezer there in 73. Then in 1979, there's a little good news and a little bad news. And the bad news is we had a bad fire. And in February of '79, it put us out of business for 4 months. And these are some pictures of the aftermath of the fire. It happened during a 24-inch blizzard. The fire company couldn't get to us. And it's hard to imagine the problems that we had. Gary Walstead and Robbie Watson and Howard and Bob and many of the fellows that were there at that time can tell you about it. This is the conveyor set up that we just hauled it outside after the fire. And this is another picture of the fire. Had happened right in back of what is now, or what was then, and what is now the office. It happened on a Sunday night, and as I say, the inventory of some $8 million worth of inventory was condemned by Food and Drug, and we had frozen food in Richmond, Virginia, as far north as Altoona. Robbie Watson went to Richmond and packed orders there, and Howard scheduled trucks. We delivered. We didn't miss a delivery. Rotelli helped us, and as I say, we worked out of Richmond and Altoona and Secaucus, New Jersey, while we were repairing this freezer. It all had to be GI'd. That's a picture of Jack Robinson, who's here with us this morning. Jack worked with us for 40 years, and he was the chief engineer of the construction at Harrington, and he particularly was involved right after the fire and putting it together. I'm sorry who you're with, Jack, but that's the best we could do. A side business that we got into that grew to be quite a business was the poultry business. And this is a picture of the line. And Ed Krupke, where your office and Jerry, where your department is, and Jim, that's right where this picture was taken, if you will. That post is in the hallway out there at 5th and Macaulay. It was a poultry plant at that time, and if you're ever in that office and you notice that the floors are slanted, it's on purpose because so they would drain. It was not poor workmanship on the part of the concrete man. This is a later view of the plant over at Rehoboth Boulevard. This is the plant that ConAgra has now over at Rehoboth Boulevard. We didn't completely go broke, but we were badly bent in 1961 and had to merge this plant in with an integrated operation. It became Bayshore Foods and then later ConAgra. This is a picture in 1956. The market had just gone sour, and that's the best I could do. This is a new picker we have at the warehouse over in Harrington. This is a picture of Brother John, who is now with the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce. You may recognize some of the other faces. They're standing on the bridge up at St. George's, a new bridge. That's Senator Bill Roth and our Governor Tom Carper, Brother Big John, Joe Biden, and our Governor Mike Castle. And this is the lady that really made it all possible. Our chief engineer, Lillian, my wife. Thank you.